people here are under immense pressure. No country per capita has taken in more than Moldova has. But when you speak to Ukrainians, as I have done in the past day or so, what you hear is really an expression of thanks. There is nobody here who isn't grateful for the welcome that they've received from the Moldovan authorities, on the one hand, who've provided free food, shelter, transport, but particularly from regular Moldovan people, many of whom have driven to the border themselves to pick up a family that they've never met and to host them in their homes for as long as is needed. All this in what is, by most measures, the poorest country in Europe. And what else I think is particularly interesting about the Ukrainian refugees here is where it is that they come from in Ukraine. These are people who've traveled mostly from the south and the east of the country, places like Mykolaiv, like Odessa, some from as far away as Kharkiv. And these are areas that historically have had strong links with Russia. Links not just linguistically, we know that the majority of Ukrainians do speak Russian, but also culturally and economically as well. These are areas where lots of Russians, particularly somewhere like Odessa, they have second homes, they have businesses there, they share family ties, lots of people cross the border regularly. So these are parts of the country that Vladimir Putin thought, if anywhere his forces were going to be welcomed as liberators, it would be in places like that. But here, of course, in Moldova, we've witnessed the exact opposite. People saying, we are furious with Vladimir Putin and we are absolutely devastated with the destruction he's bringing upon our countries and our cities.
And Nadia, there are, of course, other growing concerns that if, that's a big if, and when Ukraine is seized by Russia, Vladimir Putin might also have his sights set on Moldova, where you are.
Yes, alongside that mobilization we were talking about of Moldovans helping out Ukrainians who are arriving, there is this question in the back of people's minds, might we be next? Moldova considers itself extremely vulnerable. It's sort of the chink in the European armor. It is in Europe, of course, but outside of NATO, outside of the European Union, and it has no army really to speak of, certainly not compared to Russia. And crucially, it also has inside its borders the Republic of Transnistria. That is a small breakaway region that is pro-Russian. And if that sounds to you a little bit like the Donbass region in eastern Ukraine, that's because it is. And there are actually over 1,000 Russian troops stationed inside Transnistria. Now, as you suggest, for the moment there is no imminent indication that Russian forces are planning an attack directly at Moldova, but clearly there is fear. Now, that fear compounded by the fact that last week we heard from the Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, a key ally of Vladimir Putin in Moscow. He produced this map showing Russian troops with arrows heading from Odessa in Ukraine towards Moldova, towards this border. Now, that map was then retracted, Belarus saying, no, look, we're not planning to invade Moldova. But you can understand the fear and the anxiety here, that having heard some of that language coming out of the Kremlin in the past few weeks, having heard the mentality of Vladimir Putin, that perhaps, yes, he does have Moldova within his sights. Perhaps, just perhaps, he is really trying to redraw the map of Europe. And that is why people here are packing their bags just in case they too, like those Ukrainian refugees, may need to move further west.